Welcome back to Moose and Loose Extra. This is my second channel. Today we got some more reactions to Justin Trudeau intending to step down, to resign. There's a lot of chat whether Jagmeet Singh will support Trudeau or not, even though he said he's going to be taking down the government. A whole bunch of rumors, a bunch of speculation. Is this prorogation that's being used to stop the government even lawful? Lots to think about. We've got a CTV panel here. Let's jump into it. Out of all the Liberals that have come out to speak, this one here by Wayne Long is hilarious.
What was going through your head as you watched the Prime Minister make that announcement finally today?
You know, a day that we want it to happen, but it's pretty sad that we had to get to this point. I mean, you know, this should have and could have happened months ago, but in the end, it had to happen. Our chances of winning the next election have just gone up by about 1,000% than they were 2 hours ago. So I look at this as a day of sadness and reflection, but also day one of our rebuild. Let's go.
This is hilarious. 1,000%. Well, who knows? So as I mentioned in the previous video, it all came down to what is he deciding with his family. I'm guessing his kids had some weighing effect on this. I think it's the only people he actually cares about in his life.
I've also had a chance to reflect and have had long talks with my family about our future. Throughout the course of my career, any success I have personally achieved has been because of their support and with their encouragement. So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign.
Does he think that we're supposed to feel sad for him? Like, get out the door, like now, go pack your stuff and get out.
And the way in which the Prime Minister communicated, I think very specifically that he felt he didn't have caucus's support. There wasn't a path forward. And ultimately, that's what determined or led to this decision. What did you think about the way he delivered that message?
Well, there was a real sense of reluctance, I thought, to his message. As you point out, it wasn't as though the Prime Minister came to the microphone and said, listen, all good things must come to an end. I think it's better for me, for the country, and for the party if I pass on the baton. That wasn't the tone. The tone was, I think I could still win this damn thing, and I'd sure like to try, but I can't go forward. There just isn't enough support. The crew no longer will back me as captain, and so I'm moving on. And I thought, frankly, that was a little bit of odd positioning. I mean, it's got to be a terrible, tough thing. Imagine being as popular as Justin Trudeau has been. Imagine the 2015 campaign where you are leading rallies and people are charging to touch the hem of your garment, and you get reelected again 2 more times. And now you have to struggle over the Christmas holiday with the undeniable fact that you're no longer popular enough to lead your own party, to lead your own government, and to face another election. And it's not something that people come to easy. And I did not feel watching the Prime Minister that he was coming to it easy. And obviously he's left his party with little time and few options.
I think that's actually spot on. I mean, we've got the woman in British Columbia who basically told him to get the F out of BC. I mean, was that the catalyst? Was that the straw that broke the camel's back? Trudeau just thrives on that power, having all the women swoon after him, being in charge, being the leader, but he doesn't actually know how to run a country. That is the problem, and it caught up with him. It was all nice and easy at the start because he was taking over from Harper, but year after year, things got worse and worse because Justin Trudeau is a buffoon.
And we'll speak about those potential options in a moment. Corey, what stood out to you in the Prime Minister's comments?
Well, some of the same things. Like, look, very, very slow coming to what I think has been an obvious conclusion to all of us on this panel and just about anyone out there who follows Canadian politics for quite some time. You know, to lay this at the feet of caucus essentially for, infighting in the Liberal Party is the reason not to go. Well, that is a symptom of a prolonged period of a 20-point gap between them and the Conservative Party. Like, let's just be realistic about why caucus is not supporting him. It's not because they woke up one morning and decided they just didn't like Justin Trudeau anymore. I don't think that was the message at all. I think the message was we have not a prayer of winning the next election, and the party itself might be destroyed. It might be burned to its foundations if you continue as leader. And them having to, I think, in a way that I think probably most of those people didn't want to do, go out publicly and have caucus meetings, demanding that he step aside. So, like, it's not infighting; it's a lack of public support for the Prime Minister personally, and some of the less popular parts of his agenda, starting with the carbon tax. So, I appreciate it's a tough day. Everybody comes into Ottawa, when they're new, carried on the shoulders of others with a cheering crowd, and they get run out of town by an angry mob, when they leave, more often than not. And
almost quite literally this situation, which is funny.
And this is not breaking that tradition. So, it's a tough day for the Prime Minister, but boy, oh boy, the self-delusion continues right till the bitter, bitter end.
It really does.
I think Corey's right in that no MP I've interviewed over the last few months, jump for joy that they were getting on TV to say, Prime Minister, step aside. They were reflecting what they felt their constituents.
But they were hearing from people on the ground, for sure. But there's a saying that is shared among political staffers that every political career ends in tears. And that is really the truth today. Here's Justin Trudeau, a man who basically united a party that was tearing itself apart, that literally almost at some point thought it had no future. He brought them together, brought them to the glory that Scott and Corey have just outlined, where he was the selfie prime minister, high-fiving people in subway stations, and now what a fall from grace. And I think that's what was really telling today. And why did that fall from grace happen? It happened because he failed to issue manage. He failed to manage relationships and actually connect with people in his cabinet and with his caucus. And on top of that, some stuff is just really failing to execute on an agenda that people wanted to see. And so today is the result of all of that.
So he stays on, Scott, as prime minister. He prorogues till March 24th. All three opposition leaders, including NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, say at the first opportunity, which you would imagine would be the end of March with supply, they will vote to down the government, to bring the government down. What does that mean for a leadership race?
A lot. And, the Liberal Party wants to give Justin Trudeau his day. They should give Justin Trudeau his day. But tomorrow morning, they should wake up, at the crack of dawn, and they should snap their heads to the task ahead, because boy, oh boy, they're 20, 25 points behind. And I see already two decisions that make this incredibly difficult task even harder. One, Justin Trudeau is going to remain in as prime minister and leader of the party and face of the party and face of the government for the next couple of months while they select a new leader. And two, they're going to take some time to select a new leader. Like, someone explain to me how the Liberal Party executive can imagine that they have 90 or 120 days to select a leader when the government has only 70 days of life left, according to what we heard today from the opposition leaders. So they've got to focus now. And for my money, that means look around the room, pick the candidate who's the best baller, who can throw a campaign on their back, who can excite and animate people, who has an ability to connect with folks, to signal some sense of change, to try to save the seats you want to save, and maybe win back a few that look like you've lost. I mean, it's
possible if they do get someone like that comes in, they might be able to save a few seats. It's not going to be a big difference, but it might be a difference of 5 or 10 at most. And that's really the only thing the Liberals can do at this point, but they're going to get crushed either way. And it's going to be glorious.
That's the name of the game. Corey said it earlier. It's an issue of survival now. And I'm not mincing words. In order to survive, the party's going to have to make better decisions tomorrow than it has made today, because a long leadership race and leaving Justin Trudeau as the face of the party are risks to the monumental challenge that confronts them.
Now, Corey, I know you're an expert in running conservative campaigns and working with conservative candidates, but as Scott describes who has the best shot, if you were to look at the crop of speculated contenders, who does in your view of doing what he says?
Well, I think there are a few standouts there, but I don't want to pick just one and disrespect the others on this. But Carney is clearly one of the front runners. Freeland's clearly one of the front runners. Don LeBlanc, Christy Clark.
These are all losers. Let's get real. All of them. We want this WF puppet as our prime minister, who doesn't want oil pipelines in Canada, but he's totally fine buying them up and building them in the UAE and Brazil. Really? Half the time, Melanie Joly didn't even know what was going on in her own department.
There are a number of choices. Melanie Joly, I think you had most of them on the screen there earlier. But I think you got to have something that's a broader voting pool than caucus. But I think you've got to disregard the Constitution here and get candidates aligned on a faster leadership race, or you risk having Justin Trudeau as leading the party going into the next election, which I think pretty much everyone in the Liberal Party has agreed is the worst possible outcome. That said, I think they should be looking at some other changes to how they select leaders, because I think if you designed a leadership process in a lab to maximize foreign interference, you would probably come up with the current Liberal Party leadership selection process. And in today's day and age, and what's transpired with foreign electoral interference over the last few years, I think it would be folly in the extreme to go forward with the sort of wide open selection process that allows people to just sign up. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to be a permanent resident. Anyone in their dog can go and do it. Well,
yeah, it's insane. So basically the Liberals have the most lax policies for signing up to be a Liberal and vote for a leader. So you can be 14 years old or older. You don't have to be Canadian, which is insane. Why would we let anyone who's not Canadian vote for leadership at this point? It would be for the prime minister, because this person steps in and becomes prime minister. The fact that the Chinese were involved in Han Dong, what do you think they're doing right now with this Liberal leadership race? They're probably just drooling at the idea of who they can try to put in place there. The Liberals are so corrupt all the way from the top to the bottom.
Well, good luck, dealing with the mess that's going to create, because we have a very clear-eyed view now as to what foreign powers and what influences are going to try to inject themselves into that process. And it's going to be ugly. It's going to be bad for the Liberal Party. It's going to be bad for Canadian politics. I think they got to clean all that stuff up if they want to have a clean and legitimate race.
Not only that, we still don't know who the traitors are. We're going to go to an election. They're going to have a Liberal leadership race, and we don't know who the traitors are in our government? What kind of clown show is this? This is not a serious government.
The last word and last minute to you, Kathleen. What's your prediction of where this goes?
Yeah, I would say that the point that Corey just landed on in terms of the need for guardrails on this leadership contest is really, really important. And I don't know in the time span that they have if they can actually execute on that. One other candidate that Corey didn't mention is Christy Clark. She is the candidate almost that Scott described to a T. Outsider, can campaign well, very telegenic.
Power play panelist.
Power play panelist as well.
Highly corrupt, involved in almost an unlimited amount of scandals, terrible reputation.
But doesn't have the inside track, right? Yeah, exactly.
All of you guys.
Can I run? Am I allowed?
So,
Open membership.
unless we tighten those rules up, yeah.
So that's who I'm looking to see which kind of waves she can make as a kind of outsider candidate if she can actually get into the race and actually gain significant support.
Yeah, I asked to confirm today, are you leaving the Power Play panel? And I did not get a very specific response.
We got this one from Nick Nanos. He's kind of out to lunch. When I say kind of, I mean he's really out to lunch.
Well, Canadians are usually a little more kind over time, but, regardless of whether you like or dislike Justin Trudeau, you have to realize that he managed to navigate Canada through the first Trump presidency. He managed to get Canada through the pandemic, and he also advanced a number of very progressive policies. But more importantly, he managed to step down before he was booted out. So, he's not finishing a loser, and he has won and formed 3 governments, which is not any uneasy feat. So
He's not finishing a loser. He is a loser. He's a loser when he walked in. He's a loser walking out.
On those fronts, that'll probably be the keystones of his legacy. And you know what? Regardless of what the next phase is for him, he'll be able to look at those things and at least point to them as successes from his perspective.
So that was filmed just before he stepped down, but it's like Trudeau did not do anything for our country good. He has just decimated our country. Trudeau's legacy will be corruption. He is a loser today, and he will still be a loser tomorrow and in 10 years thereafter. Exactly. Worst PM in history. This will be his legacy. Nanos is just trying to lay a false foundation to say something different, but that is a lie. Canadians won't forget. Excellent comment. The Liberal Party is not a serious party. If they let anyone vote, can have people from China that are 14 years old vote who the leader is, what kind of horribly corrupt system is this? And just a side note, if you look at the other parties, they don't have the same rules. The NDP are more strict than the Liberals, and the Conservatives are even more strict than the NDP. Surprise, surprise, the Conservatives are always the party of reason. Another thing that's going to affect all of this is now Donald Trump with what he's saying about annexing Canada, essentially. How many Liberals will want to step up to deal with that?